So bad guest, or let's say bad reviews, and how to deal with actually difficult guests. Because guys, look, in the business of short-term rental and Airbnb, one day you're going to face some difficult guests. How are you going to go about dealing with them? What's the best way to deal with them? And at the same time, as a business, you are always going to face that. So look, in this video, I want to show you some real-time feedback and example of clients that I work with on a weekly basis. Working with 20 clients, there's gonna be, hundreds of properties. There's always gonna be something going wrong, something that guests aren't gonna be happy about, and how do we go about dealing and solving that problem? So guys, if you're new to this channel, my name is Piers. I've worked with over 1,700 properties all over the world, and for me, it's exciting that I get to share you all the real-time feedback, the real-time examples on how I suggest my clients how to deal with it. Look, I've got so many new operators, new Airbnb business owners who come to me and work with us growing their brand. My job isn't to tell them how to deal with a bad guest, but when there is, I can only share my experience. I can only give them exactly what I'm going through today in this video to help you understand how to deal with bad guests. So firstly, let's talk about understanding the problem. Now, if you're thinking about there's been a bad guest, the first time when somebody texts you with a complaint, or automatically as a human being, we're going, oh well, no, we haven't done this. Or the best thing I found with any circumstances like that is actually sit down and really understand the problem, really understand the guest. Now, two things here. Understanding the guest basically means what is exactly the problem, because you need to understand, is it your fault? Is it property's fault? Is it something that you can't control, right? And then you start thinking about how do you go and about to resolve this. So firstly, I quickly found out there's numbers of things new operators, specifically 50% or more operators in the UK right now don't do it, which is they don't log the conversation. Now, if a guest actually called you today and said, hey, we've got a problem, and this is you have a chat with them, obviously depending on the conversation it goes with, you need to make sure you log that straight away. Now, let's take this to an Airbnb scenario. So if somebody calls you, a guest who's, let's say, stayed with you for 2 nights, for a weekend, turned out, actually real-time example, some of my client actually had their key box problem, right? So the key box was actually locked, jammed, 3 in the morning, guest couldn't get in, trying to call the guest, or try and call the host. My host could, they obviously they're sleeping, they couldn't answer the phone, and obviously that delayed the whole process of their guest actually getting into the property. Obviously it was 3 AM, it wasn't their problem, they put the keys into the key box and it got jammed. Now, if you look at that scenario, there's no control on any parties, and especially the host at 3 in the morning, there's not a lot you can do. If the phone rings and you're sleeping, you can't say that. But what I would say, and going back into this conversation of actually dealing with Airbnb, if the phone complaints come through, the first thing I would do is I would go back into Airbnb messaging and log that in straight away and say, hey, I'm sorry, we've had this conversation just now over the phone, let's deal with it properly. Now, when you do that, the first thing you're doing there is you're logging that conversation based on Airbnb's benefit as well, because tomorrow if you were in the wrong side of it and you're being threatened to get given a bad review, which in 95% of cases it will be, the guest will say, look, I'm going to give you a bad review, this blah blah blah. You need to make sure that that conversation is logged properly in a professional manner, so that Airbnb can actually see it, right? That you're dealing with it properly and you've taken anything and any reason to deal with it and solve the problem. Secondly, you need to make sure that terms and conditions are sent. A lot of time operators get so excited, and not have the system in place. I've worked with probably just over 100 of new operators around the world, and the first thing I say to them is, how do you send your terms and condition? And do you know what they say? Piers, we don't. And I get absolutely shocked when people don't send terms and condition, because reality is that's where you put every terms and condition. Any problems, any refunds, any cancellation, anything to do with something goes wrong is in your terms and condition, and you must have one, and you must send that to clients before they check in. Now, in some instance, in my previous history, I've had guests going to me, you know, I've had some guests going to me saying, Piers, this bed's lovely, like they've had the best time. And the same, you know, few weeks later, somebody else will come in and they will start complaining about the bed wasn't the best. How do you go about dealing with it? Because different clients, different requirement, and all of a sudden, because they've got a bad sleep, they're going, well, actually the bed was bad. They will, you know, take the mattresses off. They'll take any reason to find a problem in that bed to be able to find a refund or threat you for bad reviews. Now, this is where, again, you do not have any control. There's our guest who's going to give you a bit of problem. There's our guest who's going to challenge you with everything they can. You must take control of this. So now going back into, let's understand how to work with bad guests. Firstly, it's all about understanding. Now, look, when I say that, a lot of time when a complaint comes, the chances are business owners don't actually take it properly, which is where, you know, you tell something to the guest straight away and all that. I rather take time to understand the scenario, but also understand the end results on what you want to achieve with the guest. Because at the end of the day, look, you are in a business. That is your customer. Your customer needs to be happy, regardless of them being right or wrong. Again, if they are on the wrong, you need to make sure you communicate properly, understand them, and give them all the reason why they're wrong, or there's some things that you can't resolve and it hasn't been in your power. Second thing is, let's talk about just creating that scenario, the final scenario. What do you want to achieve and how you're going to go about it? And lastly, think about the financial problem or the damage or the reputation damage, which is based on the reviews, because sometimes Airbnb will genuinely take the guest side, and as a result of that, is it worth having that bad review? If somebody's staying there for 2 nights, coming to a resort, you know, if they've had the first night great, second night's been a problem, how do you go about actually giving them the option or compensation to allow them not to give you that bad review, but also at the same time build that relationship? Because tomorrow, that one bad review can affect the potential bookings that you're going to get. Not that you're going to get 100, you know, again, I have clients who's got over 50 properties, 20 properties, and you know, they're always going to be someone who's only going to give you 4-star, even if they've had a great stay with you. It's just understanding, it's always making sure that you meet their standard, and I think as a result of that, you'll get a lot more chances of dealing with a bad guest. Now, let's talk about numbers of ways I've solved issues in the past, and hopefully this will allow you to understand and take the right action. So firstly, do you know what? I've got an apology letter or a template that I've created, because you know, when it does happen, it's nice that you've already got a template laid out, which you can then effectively send it via WhatsApp, text, or if it's from Airbnb or Booking.com, just send it via that. So firstly, you've taken a chance to, you know, just actually say sorry as a business. I think that's probably very, very important for me. The second thing, sometimes, and I think it goes back to a lot of time, people will ask you for some kind of compensation or refund or whatever it is, and I think when it comes to that place, I found that before they even come and tell you about that, I reckon that it'll be better if you can offer some kind of voucher for them to be able to come back and stay with you in maybe a quite a month, as a money value. So rather than you saying, oh, I'm going to give you, you know, your £100 back for the second night, you can say, why don't you, here you go, you know, apologies, we're trying to deal with this, we've come to a conclusion, you know, there's not a lot we can do, but would love to offer you a £100 voucher, valid till X amount of date, for you to be able to use it with us so that we can gain your trust again. We want to make sure that you come and enjoy it again and not have. So look, at the end of the day, you are trying to build that business. If that customer will ever want to come and genuinely are willing to work with you, right, then they will accept it. The fact that also you've given that before they've asked for refund clearly shows that you've given them the opportunity to actually take, or you've taken the opportunity to take control and as well as solve the problem in the right manner. So I think that will be quite interesting for you to start playing with. But again, if it's a monthly client, it's slightly different. You've got to deal with it differently depending on guest requirement. But I hope it kind of gives you an understanding of how you can deal with bad guests, and as a result of that, protect your business. So look, over the years, I will suggest to you that you must understand that guest and their behaviors in terms of little problems. You know, if it's a family with kids, they've got certain requirement. You know, if they come in for a special holiday, then they've got certain, you just need to deal with the guest in the right manner, and as a result of that, you will have a successful short-term renter business. So guys, look, I hope you enjoyed this. Another video. It's based on pure experience. It's based on what you guys want to learn. And you know what? I've had many questions around bad guests, how to handle them. I'm also trying to go understand furthermore into why do they go straight into giving you bad reviews, and why do they not communicate? Sometimes, you know, your guest won't communicate with you and they will just go and give you a bad review. Again, that's even worse, because then you have no control. How do you go about mitigating that? And also, how do you go about replying back to that comment that they place? So look, it's a very interesting video. I hope you enjoyed it. We will be back with another video soon, but for now, please make sure you hit that like, subscribe and share, and thank you so much for watching.